All right, so we're going to take a look at TRIAS real quick. I'm going to zoom way back out, start from the beginning, but I'll do this a little faster here. In general, price is stuck, but not in a bad way. It seems to be finding support between the monthly 10, which is white, and the weekly 10 EMA, which is red. That was how Bitcoin was postured before it tumbled down a little bit. And I think BPRO is also in a similar situation. So that's not bad. It's finding support above the weekly 10. You can give a thumbs up. However, you have a little bit of disagreement with the lower time frames. A little bit. And the question here is, will the lower time frames drag down the higher time frames? Because higher time frames using the weekly 10 as support is good. And if you go, the longer you go sideways on this red line, the weekly 10, I mean, you're giving yourself permission to fly should Bitcoin have a good move up. Now, however, take off these EMAs. TRIAS was in a trading channel. It has fallen out of it and used the bottom as resistance once and twice. Therefore, I would not begin being interested in trying to do a buyback for TRIAS until specifically it hits the bottom here, the red line, which is the weekly 10, somewhere around $5.50. But I wouldn't necessarily just pull the trigger. If I have $1,000 to spend on TRIAS, I wouldn't just put limit buys for $1,000 at $5.55 or $5.50. But however, what I might do is do 10 to 20% of my available, whatever I'm planning on spending. I would probably put limit buys down there for 10 to 20% of what I have. Once you see those get filled and price is down at this level, I would then look at both Bitcoin and the traditional market ticker that I gave you at the beginning of this live stream and identify, is pressure still down on Bitcoin and traditional markets? And if not, then you could consider pulling the trigger a little bit more with the rest of, the available stable position that you're willing to spend on this. However, I would not pull the full trigger right when it hits there. So therefore, that's a longer explanation when I say I would begin being interested. So when I say I begin being interested when it hits this line, is I wouldn't pull the trigger on all my money. Okay. However, a portion of it I would. Now, if Bitcoin and traditional markets are looking fairly weak there, I would probably hold off. And then I would begin being interested either when Bitcoin starts moving up or traditional markets move up. And if they don't move up and this tumbles down, then I would simply look for some type of horizontal somewhere. Let me zoom out just a little bit. It looks like this area of interest. So let me take off the EMA. Big spike down, all this area. Maybe here too. Well, somewhere. This area here, I would put a box, something like this. That's a pretty big box though, Tim. I would actually do this right here. And then if it did break down, well, you're only 10 to 20% in, and that small amount would be, so if you bought there, it'd be 12% down, right? Unless you put stops and then you're fully out again. And then I would do the same thing for this horizontal that is ranging between $4.83 down to $3.83. So roughly $4.80 to $3.80, this box. I would begin being interested. So I'm using that phrase again. I would begin being interested if Bitcoin broke this down below its weekly 10, which I'll throw back on. I would begin being interested again at 480. And I use that phrase specifically because I wouldn't just throw all my money at it there. Once it gets there, I would then go look at primary indicators of Bitcoin and traditional markets to see, their stability. If they look like they're at a bounce point or they already are bouncing and TRIAS has not bounced yet, I would hit the trigger pretty hard. But if not, then I would assume that it might be targeting $3.80. And that's how I would play my buybacks. So I would have 3 areas of interest: the weekly 10, 480, and 380. And once they get there, I would judge what both your primary indicators for TRIAS are, Bitcoin and traditional markets. And that's how I would rock and roll with that for TRIAS. Hopefully that was helpful.